So BSG recently unlocked a few of the traders to level 2 in Tarkov, and this is giving us some new options for weapons and gear. We're going to look at what's available across all level 2 traders, as they will presumably keep unlocking level 2 traders in the next little while. And this is based off of Tarkov.dev data, so be aware that some of this info might be subject to change if BSG decides to improvise a little bit, which they seem to be very fond of lately, but hopefully they leave it alone. I'll try my best to mention what trader stuff is from, but I will be talking as if we have all level 2 traders available, so that this video can be relevant for when those traders unlock as well, which probably isn't in very long. There are some new armors available from level 2 traders, which are a significant step up in protection. These new armors is the Coraza, the 6B13, the NFM Thor, and the Interceptor OTV. We also have some new armored rigs, namely the 6B5 Uley, both in Flora and Khaki, and the 6B3 TM. The Coraza and the Uley in Khaki are just level 3 armors, so they're kind of subpar options straight off the bat, while the Coraza is better than the Khaki Uley as it has level 3 plates with level 2 soft armor, while the Uley is just a single level 3 armor layer. So the Coraza is a potential economy option as it goes for 78k, which is about 20,000 rubles less than the top options, but missing out on level 4 armor is not really worth it just to save 20,000 rubles in my opinion. We can now also buy the 6B23-1 for 63,000 rubles from Ragman, which is a bit more of an economy option, but we should be going for level 4 armor if we can. The protection is significantly better. Of the level 4 armors, the 6B13 is the best for straight up rubles. It has level 4 front and back plates and level 2 soft armor, and it's available for 98,000 rubles after being unlocked from Ragman after completing the quest Audit on Streets. But the NFM Thor is the best armor if you feel like bartering. It's quite pricey and unsustainable due to bartering for 2 slim diaries after database part 1 from Ragman. You do also have the OTV Interceptor, which is fairly similar to the Thor and available for a Golden Rooster barter after the quest Minibus, also from Ragman. But the Thor is the best armor, it's the best protection in the comparison, and this is because it has level 3 soft armor behind the level 4 plates, while the OTV and 6B13 only have level 2 soft armor. The OTV has low penalties, but the Thor beats it out. The Thor also comes with better plates than the OTV, as the OTV comes with ceramic plates, which have very high destructibility, meaning they lose durability very quickly, while the Thor is combined materials, which is way less destructible. The 6B13 has steel plates, which is better than the ceramic plates in the OTV, but worse than the Thor's plates. The OTV also has 45 durability on its plates compared to the Thor's default plates 50. The Thor also takes side plates, unlike the 6B13 and OTV, which just have level 2 soft armor on the sides. It's versatile with what plates you can put in it. It's the same front and back plate size on the Thor, so you can swap front and back plate during raid if your front plate takes a beating in a fight, which you can also do with the OTV, but you cannot do with the 6B13. The only disadvantage with the Thor is that it offers no neck or groin protection, same with the OTV. But at this point, people are starting to hit that threshold where most ammo you'll face in PvP has about 15 or so more penetration than the armor rating for level 2, which is 20. So with the 6B13, against ammo with around 35 or higher penetration, the level 2 neck armor basically does nothing to protect you. When it comes to armored rigs, the 6B515 Uley in Flora and the 6B3TM are the 2 level 4s. The Uley can be bought for rubles at 98,000 rubles after completing the quest Ballet Lover from Ragman, which is a fairly easy quest on Streets of Tarkov. The 6B3TM is a barter for 3 chainlets and a unique teapot, so both fairly expensive in their own way. Barters are more of a bother now though, since you can't buy the items you need for the barter from the flea market anymore, you need to find them in raid, so the Uley is definitely the most accessible of the 2. These 2 are also somewhat evenly matched. They are both level 4 armor on the thorax, which is the most important area. The 6B3TM is a little bit lighter with less movement speed penalty, but slightly higher ergonomics penalty, and it also has 2 more single slots in the actual rig. The Uley does offer the most protection on paper because it has level 4 armor on the back as well as the front, while the 6B3TM only has level 2 armor on the back. And also the Uley has level 2 neck armor for throat and back of neck, while the 6B3TM doesn't have any neck armor. And like I said, this is just a minor advantage. Against players, this probably won't do much, but it could save you from the occasional scav or late to the wipe player. The 6B3TM does have the slight advantage of using Titan material instead of ceramic like the Uley, and ceramic loses durability faster than Titan. Because of this, the 6B3TM will outlast the Uley against low pen ammo. So if you want a slight advantage in face-to-face engagements, the 6B3TM might be the choice, but overall I would say the Uley is the best due to being way more available, and it also provides a better all-round protection. But since these rigs don't have a plate with a separate soft armor layer, it is going to make them slightly weaker than level 4 plates with soft armor behind them, like the Thor, 6B13 and OTV body armors have. We also finally have access to some level 4 helmets. There are some level 3s as well, like the Ratnik. This is sold by Prapor for 59,000 rubles, which is about half the price of the level 4 helmets. There is also the K-Man, but this is about the same price as a level 4 helmet while only being level 3. Although it's 60 durability level 3, it's not really worth it at that price, especially since the Ratnik beats it with lower penalties and also protecting the ears, which the K-Man doesn't. And we do really want to be using level 4 helmets if we have the opportunity to, and the TC 2001 and TC 800 from Peacekeeper are the two best options. These are effectively identical besides color and the TC 800 having a little bit more durability. But also the price differs. The TC 2001 is $820, which is about 105,000 rubles, while the TC800 is available through a barter for one damaged hard drive and one topographic map. And while a damaged hard drive isn't too bad to find, the topographic maps are a little bit worse. We also get the ZSH 12M from Ragman, which is the other level 4 helmet we get, but it can't be used with a headset, meaning you will have reduced hearing. It can, however, be equipped with a face shield, which is level 3 for a 2 plexiglass barter from Ragman. Normally, a level 3 face shield would be completely useless, but with this paced wipe and without the flea market, people will actually be using ammo it actually will protect against. So for as much protection as possible, this would be the option to go for. I also quickly want to mention a great backpack barter from Ragman, where you can barter one Cordura fabric for a 25 slot LBT backpack. And this is a very cheap barter for a very good backpack that is bigger than the 20 slot Berkut, which costs 37,000 rubles, and it's as big as the Tehincom, which costs 46,000 rubles. And you can craft a Cordura in your level 1 lavatory for one sling backpack, which is 10,000 rubles from Ragman, so keep that in mind. As ammo is really where the power of a gun comes from, we can take a quick look at the best ammo introduced with level 2 traders. I will consider level 2 workbench crafts as sort of part of this trader stage, as it will probably be unlocked around the same time as level 2 traders for most players. There are a few interesting rounds at level 2 traders, like SP5 for 9x39, which is 28 pen and 71 damage, and TCWSP for 308, which has 30 pen and 85 damage. And these are the two most powerful rounds that we can buy from level 2 traders in terms of penetration. Thanks to this, both 9x39 weapons and 308 weapons, both of which we get some new ones of with level 2 traders, are really becoming viable, as we get the first 9x39 weapon in the VSK-94 from Prapor, and the first fully automatic 308 with the SA-58 and semi-automatic 308 with the M1A, both from Peacekeeper. The VSK-94 is now a very solid choice for us. It has some significant drawbacks, like being very unmoddable, dependent on a dovetail mount for sights, and being limited to a 20-round magazine. But thanks to SP5, this gun can put up a decent fight, and it's a great choice for going into raid just, looking for a come-up. It's relatively cheap, it's suppressed, and has decent kill ability thanks to SP5 having 28 pen. At just 82,000 rubles and with a few more thousand to get it modded with a sight, it's a very good economy option, as much as something can be an economy option this wipe. The SA-58 is the big hitter from level 2 traders, which becomes available after completing Overpopulation from Peacekeeper, which is just to kill some scavs around the chalets on Lighthouse. It can be modded quite well at level 2 traders, thanks to a lot of mods also becoming available at level 2 traders, mainly from Mechanic. It's potentially quite pricey to run, as it is a barter for 2 RAM sticks and 3 damaged hard drives. While the SA-58 statistically isn't a very good gun, even when fully modded, it does have a 700 RPM fire rate, which is giving it quite the potential damage output if you can land shots thanks to being 308. And while the TCWSP is the best ammo straight up from traders, we can also craft ourselves some BCP FMJ from a level 2 workbench for just some kite gunpowder. And BCP has a whole 37 penetration, which at 700 RPM is pretty powerful. And we can also craft the gunpowder we need for the BCP FMJ craft from some 545 hollow point ammo from Jaeger, making this a very cheap and easily accessible option, mainly just taking up a lot of time to do the crafts. Modding the SA-58 is about 48,000 rubles extra, depending a little bit on what kind of sight you put on it, totaling 2 RAM sticks, 3 damaged hard drives, and up to 48,000 rubles. You can also suppress it with a hybrid 46 from a mechanic barter for 4 RAM sticks, but if you're fond of ergo, I wouldn't recommend it. The M1A is also an option for 308, but it requires a lot to barter for, as it needs 8 insulating tapes for the EBR version from Mechanic, and 10 USB adapters for the stock version from Peacekeeper. The problem isn't really the items, as they're not very rare, but you just need so many of them, which is kind of weird, and it definitely makes it unsustainable running this gun, and I would probably just save them for doing test drive part 1 or something if we get that before level 3 Peacekeeper, in which case we should just be able to buy the M1A. We also unlock 54R FMJ from proper level 2, which is a very strong round at 36 pen, but unfortunately we only have bolt actions available for 54R at the moment, meaning we cannot take full advantage of this round, unless you can snag yourself an SVD or something in raid. It is the best round you can buy for sniping at level 2 traders, but we can craft 308 BCP FMJ at a level 2 workbench, which is slightly better at 37 pen. And the pen is quite important here, as people now have access to level 4 helmets from traders, so ideally we would want to have some 40 or higher pen rounds to consistently pen those level 4 helmets. But we don't have access to that from traders or crafts just yet. BCP FMJ is the best we got. The SCAR-L is now also available from Peacekeeper, but it's for a fat $1,715, which is about 221,000 rubles. The G36 is available as well for $897, about 115,000 rubles. The SCAR is relatively cheap to mod, mainly due to just being very limited in modding options, and can be 35 to 50k-ish to mod, and you can also get a mini monster for a VHS barter for it, which is pretty sweet. The G36 is, like I said, cheaper and fairly comparable to the SCAR, and it's also quite limited with its modding, so it's about 40 to 70k-ish depending on sight, and you can also use the mini monster barter for the G36. The SCAR does win out in recoil just barely, while the G36 is lighter and more ergonomic, meaning its effective ergo is going to be way better as well. So the SCAR for recoil, the G36 for ergonomics. But the slight recoil advantage is nowhere near worth double the cost of the SCAR-L. The SCAR-L also has a 650 RPM fire rate, while the G36 has 750. The barter for an M4 is still also available from level 1 obviously, so the M4 is still an option, and arguably still the best option in terms of pure firepower, and probably more accessible than the other two thanks to being relatively cheaper, as the M4 barter is fairly accessible. And the M4's 800 RPM is very strong. The SCAR-L is way more controllable and easy to use though, it's a very smooth shooting gun. The M4 does have higher recoil than the SCAR and G36, but comparable ergo-wise to the G36, and with 800 RPM it's beating the 750 RPM of the G36. The M4 also gets more updates to mods, and can easily be modded all the way up to 100 to 110k should you want to, and kind of need to if you want to get the most out of the gun. You can also barter a Bravo scope and the like should you want, as well as the VHS barter for the mini monster suppressor being available here as well obviously. The M4 definitely has the most range for how much money you want to put into it, and it is still, in my opinion, the overall best 5.56 gun. 5.56 is now also becoming a little bit less dependent on finding good ammo in raid, even though that's still a thing obviously, because we can now craft SOST in the hideout at a level 2 workbench, which is 33 penetration, and this should make 5.56 much more sustainable, meaning we can run it regularly, because we can now craft decent ammo ourselves. And this is quite important because we can only buy 5.56 FMJ from traders, which is 23 pen. And using 5.56 weapons with 23 pen is fairly pointless in my opinion against level 4 armor, especially considering how expensive especially the SCAR is, but also the M4 with its modding. AK-74s are now available straight from Proper. The 545 FMJ rounds that we can buy are not too great though, but with the 545 PP craft available at Workbench level 2 after completing Punisher 3, and with its 34 pen, 545 PP should make 545 AKs pretty decent to run. About 85k plus 3 RAM sticks for the B30 handguard will get you a modded AK-74, plus about 35k rubles for the gun itself. This does make it quite cheap, and it can be suppressed with the TGPA by bartering 4 level 20 or higher dog tags with Skier. We do also get access to the SAG AKs from Skier, but these guns, to me at least, due to being semi-automatic, become an option only when we can use them with very good ammo, like BS or maybe Igolnik, even though Igolnik isn't really that good for semi-automatics. These SAGs are also 115 and 131,000 rubles, so while they are statistically good guns, even as stock, they are still fairly expensive considering they're just semi-automatics. The AKM and 7.62 is still an option thanks to us now being able to buy FMJ straight from Prapor himself, as well as the AKM itself being 45,000 rubles. It's about 75 to 80,000 rubles plus 3 RAM sticks for the modding, meaning in price it's fairly similar to the AK-74s, but the 7.62s do fall behind the other calibers now with level 2 traders. Because 7.62 FMJ is just 26 pen, it will start really struggling against level 4 armor, which we are now able to access. It does still remain somewhat cheap for a modded gun with ammo, so it drops into being more of an economy option. If you are just questing, this might be a decent choice. But if you have access to the PP craft for 545 or other better 545 ammo, I would just use the AK-74s. Hopefully 7.62 does make back some ground with later trader levels, but for now it's taken a back seat. For SMGs, we have the UZI Pro, MPX, and P90 as the new additions, the UZI being the firepower option with its very high 1075 RPM fire rate at $488 or about 63,000 rubles from Peacekeeper. Unfortunately, we don't really get any particularly great 9mm ammo from traders. We're stuck with PST as the go-to ammo with its 20 penetration. But at 1075 RPM, even that 20 pen PST can really hurt. Now, we do have access to Luger CCI 9mm rounds as a craft in the hideout, and while these have terrible penetration, they do have 70 damage per bullet, and this opens the door for some fairly viable leg meta with the Uzi should you want to. The high damage Luger CCI combined with the 1075 RPM could definitely stub some toes. The Uzi can also be modded quite well at level 2 traders for about 30k and another 80k-ish for a suppressor. So the Uzi is going to be fairly popular. You'll basically know Peacekeeper level 2 is unlocked because you'll see a ton of Uzis on players. The P90 SBR version is also added as a barter for 2 military cables from Peacekeeper and can only really be modded with a top rail and a sight, which will cost you between 12 to 25k-ish rubles or a variety of barter items depending on the scope. The P90 has the advantage of slightly better penetration ammo than the Uzi or MPX, with SS197SR having 25 penetration, even though this interestingly doesn't make it that much better against higher level armor. Presumably due to the SS197SR's lower armor damage percentage, meaning it wears down the plate slower than 9x19 PST for example, so for higher level armor like 5+2 and above, PST is actually equal to or even a little bit better than SS197. But SS197 does beat 9x19 PST against lower level armors. I would also say it's the better choice when going for headshots as well, as it will pen better on a shot-to-shot basis and has more damage than PST does, making those headshots kill more consistently, which is also kind of how you should be playing with the SMGs, is deliberately going for headshots due to the low recoil and high fire rate that SMGs usually have to offer, and SMG ammo usually not having the highest penetration. The MPX, also from Peacekeeper, is probably the worst option in my opinion, with its 850 RPM beaten out by both the Uzi's 1075 RPM and the P90's 900 RPM, and the P90 having better ammo as well. Even though it can be modded way more than the other two, it's at a fairly brutal price. It's already 75k to buy the base gun and 110k for the suppressed, and modded it's another 70k or so, plus a TP200 barter if you want the best muzzle brake. The MPX can also be suppressed instead for about 80k, and the MPX is also limited to PST as the best ammo from traders and level 2 workbenches. A fully modded MPX is about 150 to 230k suppressed, and that is a very pricey gun just to be shooting PST. We really only have two options when it comes to shotguns, which is the SAG AK and the MP155. The MP155 is in a weird place as we can access all the Ultima pieces besides the top rail for some fucking reason, which is quite essential. So unfortunately the MP155 remains fairly stock as we can't mod it much outside of the Ultima set. As a result, it's quite cheap to run though. It's 48k for the gun, 60k total after you add a muzzle and a bigger magazine, and that adds up to a pretty decent shotgun. You can add a rail, but it barters for 1 Apollo cigarettes and 1 classic matches, but that would allow you to put a sight on it. It can also be suppressed for 42,000 with the hexagon suppressor from Skier. You can also add the 7-shell tube to the 155, which does take it a little bit closer to the SAG AK in terms of mag capacity. The SAG AK is unfortunately not very moddable either, but it's relatively cheap at 35k from Jaeger, and we can also buy 10-round magazines for it after Chemical Part 2 is completed, so it beats out the 155 there. It's another 55k to mod it and 5k or so per 10-round magazine. This can also be suppressed with the hexagon suppressor from Skier for 42,000 rubles. I would say the SAG AK is the obvious choice for a shotgun if you have the money to kit it out, as at 90k it's a little bit more than the MP155, but not so much that you shouldn't spend the extra. Piranha is a decent addition to the shotgun ammo from Jaeger level 2. This does give us shotgun ammo finally with a little bit more penetration at 24 pen, which should allow us to get more consistent damage through to enemies with shotguns and not be quite so dependent on hitting headshots, even though headshots are still alpha when using shotguns. Alternatively, you can craft makeshift 50 BMG shells at the level 2 workbench, which is a decently expensive craft at 1 Hawk gunpowder and some WD-40. Now, in my experience, people either love or hate these. Personally, I've had a lot of success and a lot of fun using them, having used them exclusively when doing setup for the last several wipes now, because I think it's a really fun way to do that quest, as they do deliver a ton of damage if you can hit your shots. But Piranha is definitely the most consistent and dependable option from level 2 traders, especially if you don't feel too confident with shotguns. The 5.7 is by far the best pistol in the game, and given that it unlocks now with level 2 traders, if you are going to use a pistol, I would absolutely and only use the 5.7. Not just due to its ammo, which is pretty solid with SS197's 25 pen, but also because it's the by far most controllable and easy to shoot pistol. Follow-up shots are very easy with the 5.7, which is key when using a pistol, as you almost guaranteed will need more than one shot. The only problem though is that it's $1,000 to buy it from Peacekeeper after Revision Lighthouse, which is about 133,000 rubles, but it does come suppressed if you buy it. Alternatively, you can barter for a unsuppressed 5.7 with a Pastilli mask, also from Peacekeeper. But it is a very expensive gun either way. It's also very expensive to put the RMR sight on it for some reason. It's like $381 or about 50,000 rubles from Peacekeeper. Just insane prices for pistols, but it is definitely the best pistol. But that's all I had for this video. I'll be back with a level 3 trader video soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.